Gaza, a name often reduced to conflict and suffering in the news. But beyond the headlines are real people, living real lives. Today, we step past the rhetoric to hear their stories of resilience, hope, and humanity. This is Gaza, seen through the eyes of its people. For over 70 years, Gazans have faced occupation and violence, but also shown remarkable strength. We'll glimpse Gaza's past as a thriving cultural hub, and see how its people have endured. From the Nakba to today, their story is one of survival and hope. This is Gaza's history told from the ground up. Gaza's story began long before conflict. Once a bustling crossroads of civilizations, its markets and streets echoed with the voices of traders from across the world. Ancient empires left their mark, shaping a rich, diverse culture. That spirit of exchange and resilience still lives on in Gaza's people. Gaza's traditions run deep: family, music, poetry, and craft. The Oud's melodies, stories told by elders, and intricate embroidery all preserve a vibrant heritage. These aren't just customs, they're lifelines, connecting generations. Even in hardship, culture remains a source of pride and identity. Before the walls, Gaza thrived on the rhythms of sea and land. Fishermen, farmers, and families built lives rooted in community and hope. Children played in the streets, and education promised a better future. Life was challenging, but it was theirs. In 1948, the Nakba changed everything. War and displacement shattered daily life, turning Gaza into a land of loss. The sounds of celebration were replaced by chaos and fear. The Nakba marked the beginning of a long struggle. Refugees flooded into Gaza, carrying memories and keys to lost homes. Makeshift camps sprang up, resources grew scarce, but compassion endured. Gazans shared what little they had, forging new bonds in adversity. Stories and hope kept the dream of return alive. The Nakba transformed Gaza into a crowded enclave of resilience. Loss and longing shaped a new identity, fueling determination to resist. Traditions and hope survived even as challenges mounted. The seeds of resistance were sown. "1967 brought military occupation, deepening Gaza's isolation. Borders closed, movement restricted, and daily life became a struggle. The occupation weighed heavily, but the spirit of the people endured. Gaza became known as the world's largest open-air prison. Military rule brought checkpoints, curfews, and economic hardship. Farmers lost land, fishermen lost the sea, and markets struggled to survive. Unemployment soared, but hope persisted. Life was restricted but not broken. Despite hardship, Gazans resisted through art, music, and education. Murals, songs, and classrooms became acts of defiance. The pursuit of knowledge was a form of resistance. The dream of freedom endured. By the late 1980s, frustration erupted into the First Intifada. Palestinians united, students, workers, families, demanding dignity and self-determination. The uprising was a collective stand against occupation. Their voices, not weapons, led the call for change. The world watched as youths faced tanks with stones. Women organized, children became symbols, and society resisted together. Boycotts and underground schools kept hope alive. The First Intifada proved the power of unity and the human spirit. The signing of the Oslo Accords in 1993 brought a glimmer of hope to the occupied territories. The promise of a negotiated settlement, of a Palestinian state alongside Israel, however fragile, offered a path out of the darkness. But the hope that blossomed in the hearts of many Palestinians proved to be fleeting. The Second Intifada, which erupted in the year 2000, was fueled by a toxic mix of broken promises, continued settlement expansion, and the growing disillusionment with the peace process. The spark that ignited the uprising, a provocative visit by Ariel Sharon, then Israeli opposition leader, to the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound in Jerusalem, was a potent symbol of the perceived disregard for Palestinian claims and aspirations. The Second Intifada was marked by a different kind of violence, more intense, more deadly. Palestinian militant groups, armed with rockets and explosives, targeted Israeli civilians, while the Israeli military responded with overwhelming force, conducting incursions into Palestinian cities, imposing closures, and carrying out targeted assassinations. The cycle of violence escalated, leaving a trail of death and destruction in its wake, further dimming the prospects for peace. The year 2007 marked a turning point in the history of Gaza, one that would plunge its people into an unprecedented period of isolation and hardship. Following the victory of Hamas in the Palestinian legislative elections and subsequent clashes with the rival Fatah faction, Israel, in coordination with Egypt, imposed a strict land, air, and sea blockade on the Gaza Strip. What was already a heavily restricted territory transformed into what many have described as the world's largest open-air prison. The stated aim of the blockade was to weaken Hamas and prevent attacks on Israel. However, the impact on the lives of ordinary Gazans has been devastating. The flow of essential goods, food, medicine, fuel, building materials, was severely restricted, creating chronic shortages and pushing the already fragile economy to the brink of collapse. The once bustling streets of Gaza, filled with the sounds of commerce and the energy of daily life, grew quieter, emptier. Shops struggled to stock their shelves, factories shut down due to lack of raw materials, and the fishing industry, once a lifeline for many families, was decimated by the restrictions imposed on access to coastal waters. The blockade, far from weakening Hamas, had trapped the entire population of Gaza in a web of deprivation and despair. For the people of Gaza, life under siege became a daily struggle for survival. The most basic necessities, electricity, clean water, adequate healthcare, became luxuries in short supply. Families learned to cope with daily power outages, often lasting for hours on end, forcing them to rely on generators, candles, and the dwindling light of dusk to illuminate their homes. The scarcity of clean water posed a constant threat to public health. With the sewage system overwhelmed and unable to function properly, raw sewage flowed through the streets, contaminating what little water was available. Hospitals, already struggling with limited resources and the influx of patients wounded in recurring conflicts, faced dire shortages of essential medicines, medical equipment, and even basic supplies like bandages and disinfectant. Children, robbed of their childhoods by the constant threat of violence and deprivation, grew accustomed to the sounds of drones buzzing overhead and the sight of bombed-out buildings. Schools, often targeted during military operations, struggled to provide a sense of normalcy and continuity, their classrooms overcrowded, under-resourced, and haunted by the specter of trauma. The psychological toll of the blockade, particularly on the children of Gaza, is, honestly, just immeasurable. Growing up in a confined and impoverished environment, subjected to these recurring cycles of violence and deprived of basic freedoms, has left an indelible mark on an entire generation. Children, their innocence shattered by the realities of life under siege, exhibit high rates of PTSD, anxiety, and depression. The blockade has also, severely restricted access to education and employment opportunities, further dimming the prospects for a brighter future. Universities, which were once vibrant centers of learning and intellectual exchange, have seen their resources dwindle, their ability to attract qualified faculty hampered by the restrictions on movement, and their students grappling with the uncertainty of life under siege. The unemployment rate in Gaza, particularly among young people, is staggering, exceeding 50% in recent years. The lack of economic opportunities coupled with the pervasive sense of hopelessness has fueled a brain drain. as many of Gaza's brightest and most ambitious young people seek a better future elsewhere, leaving behind a society grappling with the long-term consequences of occupation and isolation. The winter of 2008 to 2009 brought a new level of devastation to Gaza. Following a period of heightened tensions and rocket fire from Gaza into Israel, the Israeli military launched a large-scale military operation, codenamed Operation Cast Lead. The stated aim was to stop the rocket fire and weaken Hamas, but the operation quickly escalated into a full-blown assault, leaving a trail of destruction and death in its wake. For 22 days, the skies over Gaza roared with the sounds of fighter jets, attack helicopters and drones. Bombs rained down on densely populated neighborhoods, targeting government buildings, police stations, and suspected Hamas installations. The ground shook with the force of artillery shelling, and the acrid smell of explosives filled the air, a constant reminder of the ongoing assault. Trapped in their homes, with nowhere to escape the relentless bombardment, Gazan families huddled in fear, their lives upended, their hopes dwindling with each passing hour. Hospitals, overwhelmed with casualties, struggled to cope with the influx of wounded, their wards filled with the cries of the injured and the anguished sobs of families torn apart by violence. The United Nations estimated that over 1,400 Palestinians were killed during Operation Cast Lead, including hundreds of civilians, many of them women and children. The infrastructure of Gaza, already strained by years of blockade and neglect, was devastated. Schools, hospitals, water treatment plants, and power stations were damaged or destroyed, further crippling the Strip's ability to provide basic services to its people. The relative calm that followed Operation Cast Lead proved to be, well, a fragile truce. Tensions continued to simmer, fueled by the ongoing blockade, sporadic rocket fire from Gaza, and Israeli military incursions into the Strip. In November 2012, following a targeted Israeli airstrike that killed a Hamas military leader, another round of fighting erupted, codenamed Operation Pillar of Defense by Israel. This time, the conflict was marked by the increasing use of rockets by Hamas, which had acquired longer-range missiles capable of reaching major Israeli cities, including Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. Israel, for its part, continued its strategy of targeted airstrikes, aiming to cripple Hamas's military capabilities and deter further rocket fire. The fighting lasted for 8 days, during which time hundreds of rockets were fired from Gaza into Israel, while the Israeli military carried out hundreds of airstrikes on targets throughout the Strip. The conflict ended with a ceasefire agreement brokered by Egypt, but not before claiming the lives of over 150 Palestinians and 6 Israelis. Operation Pillar of Defense marked a turning point in the conflict, demonstrating the growing military capabilities of Hamas and the increasing vulnerability of Israeli population centers to rocket fire from Gaza. It also underscored the failure of the international community to find a lasting solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, leaving the people of Gaza trapped in a cycle of violence and despair. Section 3, A Recurring Nightmare, 2014 and beyond. The summer of 2014 brought yet another devastating war to Gaza, triggered by the kidnapping and murder of 3 Israeli teenagers in the West Bank, followed by the revenge killing of a Palestinian teenager in Jerusalem. The conflict quickly escalated into a full-blown military confrontation, the deadliest and most destructive in Gaza's history. For 50 days and nights, the Gaza Strip was pounded by Israeli airstrikes and artillery fire. Hamas, for its part, continued to fire rockets into Israel, targeting cities and towns across the country. The fighting was characterized by its ferocity and brutality, with entire neighborhoods in Gaza reduced to rubble and Israeli cities paralyzed by the threat of rocket attacks. The 2014 war, which Israel called Operation Protective Edge, resulted in the deaths of over 2,200 Palestinians, including more than 550 children, according to the United Nations. On the Israeli side, 67 soldiers and 6 civilians were killed. The scale of destruction in Gaza was, honestly, unprecedented. Thousands of homes, schools, hospitals, and other vital infrastructure were damaged or destroyed, leaving the Strip's already fragile economy in ruins. The 2014 war was a stark reminder of the human cost of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and the urgent need for a just and lasting peace. Yet despite international condemnation and calls for a ceasefire, the cycle of violence continued. In the years that followed, there were several smaller-scale military confrontations between Israel and Hamas, each adding to the death toll and, deepening the sense of despair among the people of Gaza. The human spirit possesses an extraordinary capacity for resilience, an ability to adapt, to endure, and to find glimmers of hope even in the darkest of circumstances. Nowhere is this more evident than in the Gaza Strip, where, despite enduring decades of conflict, occupation, and siege, the Palestinian people continue to exhibit a remarkable determination to live, to love, to dream, and to rebuild their lives, brick by shattered brick. In the face of adversity that would cripple many, the people of Gaza have developed a culture of resilience, a collective determination to not allow their spirit to be broken by the weight of their circumstances. Families, the bedrock of Palestinian society, have drawn strength from their shared history, their cultural heritage, and their unwavering belief in a brighter future. The streets of Gaza, though scarred by conflict, pulse with a vibrant energy, a testament to the enduring human spirit. Children, their laughter echoing through the narrow alleyways, play games amidst the rubble, their resilience a poignant reminder of the indomitable nature of hope. Artists, using the walls of bombed-out buildings as their canvases, transform the scars of war into powerful expressions of resistance, resilience, and the enduring beauty of their culture. Hope, in the context of Gaza, is not a passive wish for a better future. It is an active verb, a conscious choice to seek out and create moments of joy, beauty, and connection amidst the ruins. It is the farmer, tending to his small plot of land with care, nurturing life from the soil despite the limitations imposed by the blockade. It is the teacher, her classroom filled with eager young minds, determined to equip the next generation with the knowledge and skills they need to rebuild their society. Hope manifests itself in the resilience of Gaza's healthcare workers, who, despite facing chronic shortages of medicine and equipment, work tirelessly to provide care to the sick and wounded. It is evident in the determination of students who, yearning for a brighter future, gather in candlelit rooms to study, their thirst for knowledge undeterred by the challenges they face. In the heart of Gaza, amidst the rubble and the reminders of loss, there is a palpable sense of community, a shared determination to support one another, to celebrate life's precious moments, and to never give up hope for a better tomorrow. Weddings, birthdays, and religious holidays are celebrated with a fervor that transcends the harsh realities of their circumstances, a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit to find joy even in the darkest of times. The story of Gaza is not an isolated tragedy, a distant conflict confined to the pages of newspapers or the fleeting images on our screens. It is a stark reminder of our shared humanity, a testament to the human cost of political inaction, and the urgent need for empathy, understanding, and a commitment to justice. The people of Gaza, for too long, have been reduced to statistics, to nameless faces in a seemingly intractable conflict. Their voices, their stories, their dreams, have been drowned out by the din of political rhetoric and the deafening silence of indifference. It is time to listen, to bear witness, and to allow their humanity to challenge our preconceived notions and awaken our collective conscience. The resilience of the Gazan people should not be mistaken for acceptance or defeat. Their ability to find joy amidst the rubble, to celebrate life in the face of death, is a testament to their indomitable spirit, but it should not absolve the international community of its responsibility to act. Resilience should not be a requirement for survival, it should be a foundation upon which to build a just and lasting peace. The story of Gaza is a call to action, an urgent plea for solidarity, justice, and an end to the occupation that has stifled the potential of an entire people for generations. It is a reminder that our destinies are intertwined, that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, and that true peace cannot be achieved while millions remain trapped in a cycle of violence and oppression. This is not a call for charity, but for a fundamental shift in our understanding of the conflict and our role in perpetuating it. It is a call to move beyond the simplistic narratives of us versus them, and to recognize the shared humanity that binds us all. The people of Gaza are not asking for pity. They are demanding their fundamental human rights. The right to live in freedom and security, the right to education and healthcare, the right to move freely and to pursue their dreams without the constraints of occupation and siege. The story of Gaza is a story of resilience, resistance, and the enduring power of hope. It is a story that must be told, heard, and acted upon. For in the words of the Palestinian poet Mahmoud Darwish, we have on this earth what makes life worth living: April's hesitation, the aroma of bread at dawn, a woman's point of view about men, the works of Aeschylus, Aristophanes, and Mozart, almond trees in bloom, and the right to dream of a homeland. Until the people of Gaza are free to fully realize this dream, none of us are truly free.